think the best live performances we've seen from the biggest Afrobeat stars are still outside Nigeria. I watched part of Adekule's Gold's jazz festival concert, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I would really love to experience this in Nigeria. Like the clips of Ashake's concert as well. What's the chances of us expressing that in Nigeria? I would say it's very low. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I don't think you're going to get an orchestra performance from any of these guys in Nigeria. Orchestra in itself is not something for the masses. I'm sorry, it's not. It's for the 1%. It's for the elites. That's how crazy it is. Yeah, live performances in Afrobeats. We are at a point where our artists are beginning to perform. Maybe not beginning, but it's becoming more popular. Live bands, more fancy performances, more live experiences, elaborate, very detailed, and the fans love it. They're talking about it, and most importantly, they're debating it as well. So recently, Adekule Gold performed at the Jazz Festival in London, and it was an orchestra performance, amazing performance, and it sparked debates. Who did it first? Everyone is now copying somebody. Everyone is now trying to sound like somebody during their performance. And it's very typical of fans, to try to do the who said it first, who did it first argument, debate. And it's not just about performance alone. Generally, music, if you make any sound, people try to trace the origin and the history and figure out who did it first. And this is the same thing with live performances. It's not a subject of who did it first. Based on my own understanding of Nigerian music, the contemporary history of Nigerian music, essentially Afrobeat, live performances, it's not new. People have been performing with live band since the 2000s. I mean, it's not new. Adekule Gold, who used an orchestra performance in London, is one of the most enigmatic, one of the most powerful live performances. He's the greatest showman. He's someone who had a live band as way back as 2015-16. So it's not new to him. It's something he loves doing. If you go to his YouTube page, you're going to see like details of this stuff there. But we also cannot ignore the fact, right? And I say this with utmost like sincerity and respect to everybody. We cannot ignore the fact that Burnaboy played a role in making live band more popular on the global stage. There are people who it has always been original too. Someone like Adekule Gold was performing with live band on a rock stage. I think it was in Sweden or Denmark, the Scandinavian country, where they make EDM music, where it's not typical Afrobeat. But he was using live performances to interpret Afrobeat in EDM essence. It doesn't get greater than that. But in terms of mainstream, in terms of when people start talking about it, and when people see, all this live drumming, all these dances, all these on solos, you think Burnaboy, because Burnaboy's expression of it was really, really grand. When he blew up, he was doing this on the biggest stage, in stadiums, in selling out venues around the world, and he was making music. He was performing with live bands in a way that mostly was not very popular on the mainstream. So that's why people think about him. That's why people will say, oh, everyone is trying to copy Burna. Everyone is trying to be like Burna, because for a lot of people, their first like entry, their first experience of someone performing with a band so expressively, so flamboyantly, was Burnaboy. And we have to give him credit for that. So I think part of the reason why this is more popular now is because of the global exposure of Afrobeat, and also because, again, we're going back to the roots. If you look at the last year and this year, there's been a lot of imagination of Afrobeat songs. Like, people are taking songs from the past and reimagining it and sampling it. We're just like tapping in from the past to shape the present. And this is the same thing happening with live performances. The core sounds that shape Afrobeats, like Nigerian mainstream pop music, they are indigenous sounds like iLife and Fuji, who are their core, are very when it comes to that genre, there's a lot of live elements to it. When you want to perform iLife music, there's all the guitar riffs, the trumpets, the horns, the drums. Same thing with Fuji, the gorgon, the omele, the shekere. There's no way for you to perform Fuji live without having all the instrumentation to go with it. So the fact that we're now going into the past and making music, taking from the past to shape the present in terms of how we make music, it's also the live elements of those genres are also coming up now. They're also being interpreted, and it's also showcasing and showing in the way we make live music, the way artists deliver live on stage now. Also, there's the part where Afrobeat is global and artists are raising their level. they want to do things to appeal to a global audience. And one of the ways to do that is by making really, really great, offering really great live experiences in terms of orchestra. This year alone, we've seen Ashake, Adekunle Gold, and I think Wizkid had an orchestra performance as well in his Hollywood Bowl concert. So that's something that is really, really top, that's something that could appeal to a global audience, that could showcase the length of the artistry, and that could show that there's more to Afrobeat than just like the ordinary performance. There's a way to also interpret it in terms of like live, symphonies, orchestra. It's really not easy. It's a really expensive process. It's a really detailed process, and for them to be able to do that, it just shows like the depth of the music. And I think more artists are going to be willing to do this, to show that they too can perform like superlatively on the biggest stages. So I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing all this, and it's going to lead to more debate. I think the more there people want to incorporate orchestras or maybe like live bands and maybe these violins and these bands to their music, the more there's going to be a debate of who did it first, who influenced who is copying who. It's just inevitable, because that's the way the music industry work, especially with the fans. Now to the average Nigerian, what is your chances of experiencing this live? I watched part of Adekunle's Gold jazz festival concert, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I would really love to experience this in Nigeria. Like the clips of Ashake's concert as well, that circulated on Twitter, social media, at the Red Bull Symphony. I was like, this is really amazing. I would like to experience this live in Lagos here. But I mean, what's the chances of us experiencing that in Nigeria? I would say it's very low. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I don't think you're going to get an orchestra performance from any of these guys in Nigeria for different reasons. Number one, I would say there's the technical reason to it. I think putting it together, the resources, the skill, the know-how, I think it's still a bit limited here. So I don't think it's going to be that easy for them to do it here. There's also the economical factor. Orchestra in itself is not something for the masses. I'm sorry, it's not. It's for the 1%. It's for the elites. From Italy to London to Moscow to Paris. Orchestra is not something that everybody go to. It's more for like an acquired taste, so to say. It's an acquired taste. So if they're going to do it in Nigeria, the ticketing would be crazy. If after it's going to happen, I think like someone like Adekunle Gold would possibly be like the person to make it happen for a really small crowd. Like I think the tickets will be really, really crazy. I think you're going to have to pay like 400k to get a seat in that hall to be able to experience that. And because again, it's acquired taste, it's not something for the mass audience. So yeah, if you are looking forward to having an orchestra performance in Nigeria, it might still take a while. Hopefully, maybe like Red Bull Symphony are willing to have like an Ashake rendition in Lagos as well, because I think they did the one with Kabza in South Africa, so why not possibly Ashake in Lagos? Yeah, maybe that will happen. But overall, I think the best live performances we've seen from the biggest Afrobeat stars are still outside Nigeria. I've had a conversation with somebody, one of my guys in the industry, and he says he likes to travel a lot. So he says if he wants to experience great Nigerian concert, he doesn't do it in Nigeria. That's how crazy it is. Imagine if you want to experience the best Ashake concert, you have to go to London. Yeah, or you have to go to US. That's where you experience Ashake more, not in Lagos, because in Lagos you take what you get. You take what you get. If you want to experience the best Burnaboy concert, you go to London now. You go to US. You go to Europe. Because if at all he performs in Lagos, say maybe a bank or a multinational gets him to perform in Lagos, if you guys make noise anyhow, if anybody wanders on stage, he just leaves, he just walks out like, I'm done, fuck it. Like, I've tried for you guys. So if you want to experience it properly, you have to go to abroad. So even in terms of the average concert itself, we're not getting the best, we're getting the low effort, let alone orchestra. Orchestra, you have to get your bread up and go to New York to experience that. So there's those factors, economical, technical factors, and generally Nigeria just doesn't support, the infrastructure right now doesn't support these artists giving us their best, and they are also not willing to give us their best. Even in terms of economically, we cannot afford the best. Ashake's tickets are out for flight time, 300k, yeah, 300k VIP standing, yeah. VIP standing. I think, was it this year that the CBN data on Nigerians with above 500k in their bank account? I think it's less than 5%. less than 5% of Nigerians have more than 500,000 naira in their bank account. To be able to see Ashake in December in a VIP standing, you have to fork out 300k. Yeah, it's going to set you back 300,000. Yeah. I'm not sure a lot of us will be seeing him. I'm sure a lot of us will not be seeing him. I think for Bades it's 250. I think Bado 200. For Central C 250. So yeah, that's the high cost of 30 December. If you want the best, you need to be willing to pay for it. But again, it's what it is, economic factors. But overall, interesting times, more live performances, even if we get to experience it from YouTube, from the comfort of our homes, and all we get is clips from social media on how they are making exploits abroad in terms of stretching their live artistry. Shout out to these guys, and the debates will always rage on. Who did it first? Who's the first person to I think in the next year we'll start doing the debates of who's the first person to use an orchestra, who is the first person to do this, to do that. And yeah, but just to make it clear, it's not new. People have been doing this for long. I remember seeing an Asha, like a clip of an Asha show in France where she was performing live with something like an orchestra as well. So these things they're not new. People have been doing this for long, but the person who brings you to the mainstream will always get to take a lot of credit because you're the one that brought it to the popular stage and made it familiar to the mass audience. So yeah, I guess shout out to everybody, and interesting time for Nigerian music. If you want to enjoy live music, premium live music, you have to have a lot of money, because right now we just do not have the infrastructure and the economic means to get the best. Yeah, and that's facts only.